Hello and welcome to yet another YouTube video here on this channel. As promised, we are going to do a tutorial on Xtiles, and this is going to be a little bit slower than my initial review because I want people to be able to follow along. So let's just jump right into the tutorial. The first thing you can do for yourself if you want to is to create a new workspace, but it should appear right here by default, and you will need to jump into that workspace. I have chosen to call this workspace YouTube tutorial, and I will add that name here as well, YouTube tutorial. And I like to organize things inside of Para, which is projects, areas, resources, and archive. More on that later. And if you want a more in-depth video just on Para, you can search for it on YouTube, or you can even buy the book, The Para Method. But that's what I have found to be the best way to actually organize my digital life. And in things like Xtile, you have to figure out the organization before you actually start building your workspace. And if you just want to follow along, you can use the para method as well. I promise you, it is a good way of organizing. So the easiest way is to create four of these right here, four blank pages, or for table view, calendar view, board views, or gallery views, depending on what you would like. So I will have one for my projects, and for projects, there are actually two views I recommend. The first one is the blank page, which gives you a little bit more flexibility, or you could go for the board view. I will go for the blank page because I think that that is a little bit better for my personal use case, because I want to be able to easily access my notes. And we can do create a couple of tiles here. Again, you will just need to create these in the size that you think is the best for your workspace. So I will create one, and you can just copy paste things. This is just like any other design program, so you can either copy it or by pressing Control C, and paste it by pressing Control V. That's Command C and Command V if you're on a Mac. We will create ourselves a backlog of projects. We will have ongoing projects, ongoing, and we will have done projects. So the way I like to do this is by just starting to write a project name. So let's say design hoodie in my case. I will then turn this into a nested page right here, and now it is a page inside of my projects. So you will have projects, design hoodie right here, and I could start laying out all of the different things inside of here. That's the one way to do it. I will show you the gallery view as well. So I will call this test projects and just quickly go over this, because we will get more in depth into the different databases later on in the video. So let's call this test project. And as you can see, I am personally not a big fan of this particular layout. This is really good if you take a lot of written notes, and for example, you have to deliver a report and that's your project. This might be really good. But for my types of projects where I do a lot of design work, I need to have things like this so I can place different pictures around this wall. We will call it a wall. So that's why I like to have this um, as a page instead of having it as a database. And once have started a project, you can just drag things. So you will see 6 dots right here. That is how you can drag things inside of Xtiles and any other productivity app that has this. So I will drag this to ongoing, and then I will drag this to done. Now let's create our resources. So inside of our resources, that's where we store things that we don't know whether or not we are going to use or necessarily know what we are going to use it for, but we found it interesting in the moment. That's how I personally use it. And for this, I want a table view or a database. And we will call this resources. This is where I will store all of my different notes whenever I take notes. And I want to have multiple views here. I like to have a gallery view here as well, because I think the gallery view here is really beautiful. So we can call this a test note like this, and it should appear right here as well. And you can just go in here and you can start to add different notes within this. So let's say you were reading an article, you could use this to actually write down things from that article. Uh, and the next thing I am going to do here is actually to add a couple of properties. Because I do like my properties. They keep my databases organized, and I can easily filter things later. I will again show you the filters as well, but let's do multi-select property for this, because the problem we have with taking notes is that our notes tend to never be found, and we will never use most of them for anything. That's what I am trying to stop with using this method. So I decide what a note is related to. And I have a couple of things that are going on in my life all of the time. They don't have a due date or an end date, they are continuous. And that's things like my clothing brand, like my personal social media, like personal relationships. I will have them as different multi-select properties, or you could call them tags as well. So I will have one for personal social media. I will have one for personal stuff. I will have one for my clothing brand. And I will have one for my day job. So most of the notes I take are related to one of these somehow, and you can go in and you can change the color of these or the name right here. Personal social media like this, and you can change the name of the multi-select as well. So I will call this related area, and you can choose one of these right here. I think I forgot to save this. Let's try again. Now it is okay. So I have this gallery view as well, and you can see the property here as well. I like to have the gallery view because I can see all of my notes. Now let's go on and create our archive. And I will do that by calling this archive and creating a page. But I want to turn this page into what's called a group. And the name of this group will be archive. So a group is just a page like this one, but it has multiple pages inside of it. So let me show you how that works. I will add a table view here as well, and I will call this archive collection. So once we are done with something, let's say this project is done, I want to move this into somewhere else. And you can do that by going into move to, so pressing on the 6 dots right here, move to, and I want to move this to archive. And as you can see, now it is moved to archive, and now it is inside of here. The same goes for your notes. This is why we made the database, because we wanted to have a place where our notes and our things from databases could go. That's why we had to create one. So this will be moved into the archive collection right here, as you can see. So the way this works is that you can put it right here. Or if I wanted to move the whole thing, I could move this to archive as well. If you want to move things that are inside of here, like notes, for example, like I did with this archived projects, you have to create yourself a tile here called archive and move it into a tile. You can't actually move it into the whole page, you have to move it into the tile. The last thing I am going to show you when it comes to Para, before I give some quick tips, is my areas. And there are two ways of doing that. You could create a subcategory with all of your different areas. I don't like that. I want my different areas to have their own page. And this will be a blank page, and this will be called social personal social media, like this. I will just change the color of this as well. And then I will add a page to the group, create a new group, and I will call this group again personal social media. And I could actually go in and I could change the name of this to be personal social media dashboard. Let me try that again. So rename and personal social media dashboard, like this. And I want a database for all of my different social medias. That's where I will show you how the different filters work. So we will call this social media ideas, like this. And now I have a place for all of my social media ideas. I will make a note called Xtiles tutorial. I could then go in and I could script my whole video right here. But before we do any of that, we need to create ourselves a couple of properties. The first property I am going to create is a multi-select one, and this will be for what social media this will be posted on. So YouTube, IG, Facebook, and so on. I could keep going, adding all of my different social media, but this is a YouTube video, so I will keep the YouTube multi-select property, and I will change the name of this to social to be profile, or I could call it social media. It all depends on what you want to call it. Call it whatever makes sense to you. Then we will need a status property, which is select. And here we have to do, doing, and done, like this. The last thing I want to add, you could go on and add a checkbox here as well. You could add created time or URL if you ever needed that. But I want a relation, and I want a relation to my resources. Because I want, if I was inside of here and taking a note about Xtile, I want to easily access that note from my social media page, like this. So this is called a note about Xtile, and it is related back. So I can see which note is related to my my social media idea. And let's go on and give this do and give this YouTube. And let's say I would have another social media idea. This would be Xtiles blog post. Xtiles blog post. If you're new to the channel, you might not have seen any of my previous videos. I can't write. I struggle with writing in these videos. This is also a to-do. I added a blog multi-select property right here, and this doesn't have any relations. So let's say I wanted to create myself a board view based on the select property. So this will give me a Kanban view, but I only want this to show my blog posts. So we have properties here, we have our sort, and we have our filters. You will click on the filters and you will create where social media contains, and you can choose blog. And I could keep on adding more and more filters, like and select is not done. So this only shows me the social media ideas that are not done yet, and are only blog posts. And I could rename this to be Kanban blog posts. So this is basically how you do the filtering, which makes this powerful. As I now drag this to done, you can and reload the page. I think you will have to reload. You can see that it disappears. It is gone, but it is still inside of the table view because we don't have any filters here. So you can create yourself filtered views. So here you can choose what you want to do with this home page. In my personal page right here, I have chosen to use this as navigation, and I've added a couple of widgets here. Or you could leave it blank, or you could choose to not have a home page at all. But I have chosen to do it that way. And the way you do that, just to quickly show you that as well, is to create a tile. We will call this social media dashboard. And then you can head up right here, find your personal social media dashboard, or in my case, my personal social media dashboard, copy this and paste it right here. You could also change the emoji of this if you wanted to. I don't spend too much time changing emojis inside of my different workspaces. And we can change the color of this as well, and the layout. That is also something you can do inside of Xtiles. You can add another icon on the top right here. You can change the title size, and there are just a bunch of things you can do when it comes to the layout of your different tiles. You can also add an embed, like for example the Spotify embed I added in my personal workspace, and you can easily do that by clicking this embed and pasting a link, whatever link you want, whether that's a Spotify playlist or the weather in your country. You can easily just paste the link right there and it will appear. And then you can change the size of this. What this basically does is that it shows you a web page within the tile. That is basically what's happening inside of here. I like to have one for my to-dos here as well. So to-dos, and here you can do a /task. And you can start writing tasks and scheduling them. They will also appear in your tasks right here. And I like to have this on my different dashboards. So I would have one for my personal social media dashboard as well. So I would call this to do, and I could add tasks here as well, and everything will appear in this task view right here. No matter where you place it, it will appear right there. That's one of the best things about this app. Uh, Apart from that, I tend to add pictures and just make things look a little bit more beautiful and polished. That's the only thing I like to do apart from the databases I have shown you. Like this right here, I like to have different things inside of here, pictures, embeds, whatever, just to make it look a little bit more beautiful. So that's a quick overview, less quick than the last video, but a quick overview. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below and I will try to get to them as soon as I can. And I hope this was at least a little bit helpful for you in order to create your own workspace. Thank you so much for watching.